What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Ethan Hammond here, strength and rehab coach. When we're talking about fixing up your mobility, we do this via a very particular way. We test a position and say that that position is impacted, it's inhibited, and then you go through your mobility work, right? You downregulate your nervous system, you go through the lymphatic massage, and you go through the other mobility work, and while you're doing that, you're periodically retesting your position. So for example, you have an issue squatting because your right knee hurts and is maybe a bit swollen. So squatting is like you can barely go down at all, like you can't even sit properly. You have to hold on to something, have that injured leg out, and then sit down on the other leg, and it's very, very awkward. And using the toilet, it's like, that's a sketchy situation. You go through the mobility work, and then it's like, okay, my knee feels better. I still can't really move it, but it feels better. You go through a few more drills, different kinds of drills, and now it's like, okay, it feels better, it's less swollen, and I can move it on it. Not a whole lot of weight, but some weight. And then you go through even more mobility work, or maybe after a week or 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, there's no swelling. It feels great, I have full range of motion in it, and I'm back to back squatting 3 times my body weight, and I feel great. That's how this works. If you just simply do the mobility work without testing and retesting position, then it's extremely difficult to know that you're actually making change, and your body doesn't really associate it with performance. And that's the big difference with proper mobility work, which is performance-based, versus typical manual therapy, which is pain-based. Do you have pain? Yes or no? Who cares? If you do this stuff, that automatically comes with pain, because being out of pain improves performance. So performance-based is the way to go. You get a lot more with it. There's a lot less time involvement as well, typically. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to kind of talk through the movement, and I'll have a secondary little video of me going through some of these movements. That'll change slightly at the very end. But yeah, so we'll look through the squat, the pistol, the couch stretch, the deadlift, the overhead, the hang, and then I will, in this actual video, go through the press and the front rack position. So squatting, here we can see over on the side. Biggest thing with this is that the ideal, the golden standard, is that your feet are parallel, as in both feet are facing forward. You may not actually squat like that in practice, technically, but during the mobility work, we want to be observing golden standards. We make our feet parallel, and there is a purpose for that. We have the knees gently pressing out to the sides, but not so much that your feet turn out or that your big toe comes off the ground. We're leading the movement with your butt. So your butt goes back and down, not just straight down, and that allows the knees to stay back for a lot longer. So especially if you have knee pain when you're squatting, you don't want to be like driving the knees forward obsessively when you're squatting. We can do that after we get through the injury, but let's get through the injury first. All right, so that's your squat. You should be able to go all the way down so that your hips and your knees are fully flexed with your feet flat on the floor. If you cannot get into that, then this gives an idea of, hey, you can't go that far because your ankles are so stiff. So if you come up on the balls of your feet and you can squat just fine, your knees have full range of motion, your hips have full range of motion, your ankles are the problem. Now you need to fix up your ankles, okay? And that's how we use this stuff. That's why using the shapes makes it so clear about what you actually need to fix. It's not always just about pain. Pistol is just a one-legged squat. This is like the epitome of ankle range of motion. Nothing else in the world really requires more ankle range of motion. If you can do that, you typically have really healthy ankles. Couch stretch, this is our epitome of leg extension. So when you're squatting or pistoling, that is leg flexion, hip flexion, meaning that your legs are in front of you. And it's also hip flexion and external rotation, meaning that the legs are going in front of you and turning outside. That's where we see the knees turning out. The couch stretch is the opposite. It's more about the hips going into extension and slightly internal rotation. They actually stay pretty neutral, but slightly to the inside, especially to accommodate your butt to the inside of your foot. Okay, but basically what we're looking at with the couch stretch, guys, is that we want to start off from the bottom. Don't just try to stand up and go straight into position. It doesn't work like that very well. And you avoid a lot of points of performance because honestly, I think people are just being lazy. Go through the freaking sequence as I'm showing it here. It's important. Hands and knees on the floor. Bring one knee, the knee that you're looking to stretch or that side, all the way to the wall. It is not away from the wall. Make sure you have some padding or cushioning. I'm going to say this a lot to the point that I've become extremely annoying, but hopefully it sinks in because people have a lot of difficulties understanding this. The knee to the wall. Your shin needs to basically be flush to the wall. So when I go down to the floor, I'm taking my knee literally in contact with the wall or the couch, whatever I'm on. That's important. That's why I'm saying it a whole bunch of times. Take your flipping knee to the wall. You guys, I'm getting annoying there, but you'd be impressed at how many people will still have their knee like a foot away from the wall and they just put their foot to the wall. No, your knee needs to go to the wall. Make sure you know what part of your anatomy your knee is. So I take the couch stretch, knee to the wall, shin to the wall, and then I kind of crawl my way up on both my hands, one hand on my up knee, both hands on the up knee, make sure my other foot is pulled through, and then I slowly start to stand my torso upright, bringing my hips through. I want to make sure I can squeeze my bum. If you can't squeeze your butt, you've gone too far, because if you can't squeeze it, you can't use it, and you need to maintain utility of your body. I don't sacrifice my position to the point of I can't use that, because that's not usable, right? That's not helpful, really. And then I'm trying to take my lower back to the wall. Okay, next up, deadlift. Simple. Feet parallel, like perfectly parallel. They are not turned out to the sides at all. You might turn them out slightly in actual practice, not during the mobility work. So I take that through, squeeze my butt. I go through that bracing sequence, squeeze my butt, squeeze my belly, keep my belly tight, and relax my butt. Knees are slightly bent. Guys, stop deadlifting with straight knees. That disallows you to use your hamstrings properly, and it means that you're going to be applying a hell of a lot more tension in the backs of your knees. That's why when you have straight knees and you try to deadlift over, you feel a lot of tension through the backs of your knees. That's stretching out the nerves, and it's not a good thing. You want to be able to feel the stretch and therefore the utility in the belly of the hamstring, so halfway between your knee and your bum, right? And I'm trying to go through with as straight of a back as possible. So if I get into my neutral position from standing, the shape of my spine maintains the exact same shape as I'm hinging over. It does not move, it does not bend anywhere. Next up, overhead. This is simple. Without my ribcage moving, I take my arm all the way up overhead, and it should be able to go slightly behind my body. Okay, so without the ribcage coming up, that's where people really mess up with this. So they go like there. Oh, I need my arm straight up, but not my ribcage. The relationship in the shoulder didn't actually change. I just took my ribcage up. Take your ribcage down, and now it's hinged over, or it's going forward. I need to be able to get there and slightly behind. The reason why it needs to be able to go slightly behind is in iterations like a snatch or an overhead squat. Full range of motion in the shoulders is going slightly behind your head. So when I'm doing a squat where I have to hinge forward but keep a weight directly over my center line, my shoulders have to be able to allow my arms behind my head. It can't be directly over. Otherwise, if I can only go directly over, when I do that slight lean forward, now the weight's going forward, right? And anatomically, my shoulders, human shoulders, allow for that. The hang position, this is the exact opposite of the overhead. I'm just simply, without my ribcage moving, seeing if I can take my arm parallel to the floor. That's sort of the gold standard with the hang position, is that I go parallel to the floor and can go all the way there. This is probably one of the most common things, like universally, people lack this range of motion. It's not one you use in daily life, really. The closest iteration will be like if you do dips with any regularity, or if you reach for something frequently in the backseat of your car when you're driving, something like that. All right, press and front rack. Let's get things set up over here. We can be with the pink squat rack. Actually, I'm going to take you all the way down for the press position. This is basically just a plank. What we're looking at is a plank, and this is like the pistol position for the wrists. So if I'm in a plank, can I get to 90 degrees at my wrists? Can I do a full range of motion push-up where I'm going all the way down, probably to the floor, and my wrists are fine? This is usually a pain yes no kind of position. It's that, do I have pain in my wrist going down through that? Because this is it's not like a pistol where your elbow is going to be driving way forward, because your elbow points backwards in the case of a press up, right? So it's not anywhere near as brutal. But yeah, that's basically it for the press position. It's not so much about the press up, but can you be in a plank and your wrists are fine, or is that horribly painful? Some people may have such stiff wrists that in order to be comfortable, they have to be here. But again, that's the case of I try to go there and it becomes really painful or like really excessively stiff. And that's it. All right, next up, guys, is the front rack. Let's move you up here. The front rack is for how do I use or how do I hold a barbell in front of my shoulder. So if I'm doing a front squat, for example, do I actually have the shoulder range of motion to support something here? And I'll grab a barbell here to properly demonstrate. But ideally, I need to be able, at standing, to have my upper arms parallel to the floor, and I'm holding a barbell here right in front of my neck. And I need to also be able to take it up higher because I'm going to hinge forward in my squat. And I need to maintain plurality with my upper arms. So, for example, just to show this without crushing my mic, oops, bang. I'm just gonna take my mic off because that's in the way. Yeah, this is fine. So as I'm squatting down, going down, and I'm holding this with my body, right? My arms are really just there as a safety net. It's my insurance to keep the weight on my body. That's it. That's the utility of that position. I hope my audio came up fine on that when I had the mic off. But yeah, those are your positions. Those are the positions that we're trying to fix. And as long as you have this idea of, you know, I'm doing this stuff to fix position, then your mobility work becomes, you know, a million times more useful. And you actually get this idea of, hey, I'm making things a whole lot better, a whole lot more reasonable, and the mobility work has a lot more direction, a lot more guidance. All right. So let me know how you guys are doing for position, and if you have any issues getting into these positions, let me know, and we'll see what help we can actually give you.